interesting that, there is all this pushback, right, against Andy's ambition from everybody but Nigel, essentially.
Yes.
So everyone in her life, and both women and men, but I would call it like this patriarchal pushback, right? This idea of, a woman's career should not disrupt her family, her friends, and her partner, the crucial figures of the patriarchy. And again, I think this does reflect, this happens. Like, people in our life, and that's the thing. Are people in your life acting like you're a crab in a bucket and they're trying to call you down? And that's again, I'm not saying Andy should or shouldn't have was aspiring to something great. I have no judgment on that. But she wanted something more for herself and was reaching for it. Yet all of her friends were grabbing her and pulling her down, calling, doing all these things for her. And I think that's important to see that Nigel wasn't. He was like, hey, when you're wait till your everything collapses, then you'll know you've really made it at work, sort of thing. But he doesn't judge it. He's like, that's the way it is,
Right. And I do kind of love that, like, right before she gets to go to Paris is when the breakup is. And it's like Nigel saying that was kind of like the Chekhov's gun of like, everything's going to collapse and then she's going to get, but it's interesting that you say it's like the patriarchal pushback, because I hadn't thought about it in that frame, but I think you're right. And I think one of the biggest scenes that we see that in is at her friend's gallery showing, and Christian Thompson is there and kisses her on the cheek or whatever. And it's like and then her friend sees, and it's her woman friend who's
like her
gallery
bestie.
It is.
Who's her bestie too. Like why is she so fucking loyal to Nate all of a sudden? Like,
and I was about
anything
to say,
was even untoward, right? Like,
which one? It's like Andy was telling him like, no, I can't. He kissed her cheek. Like, also, like, just a very, like, if you were in Europe again, like, not a weird thing. Was it a little flirty? Sure. But for that to be the straw that broke the camel's back, and what her friend says is that Andy, I know, is madly in love with Nate. And I'm like, hang on. Your best friend of 14 years, the one that you know so well, the main characteristic that you're upset that she has changed is her boyfriend? Not anything about her, not her character, not that, you don't have time for us anymore, you blew off your dad, like any of these other things that she could have said, right? That it's whether they would have been valid or not. But it's like the thing that she really took qualm with was not being loyal to her boyfriend. And it's like, and she didn't even cheat yet, even though, and then they were on a break when she, it's complicated, right? But it's like, she didn't kiss him.
Well, and like, why wouldn't your question be, hey, was something going on? Like, I noticed, is there something like, these are besties, right? Like, I would hope, like, why would my bestie be like, it's not Nate's best friend. Like, I would expect that behavior from Nate's best friend. Like, yo, what's going on? Like, hey, I saw Andy, like, but I mean, furthermore, like, I agree completely. Like, and why is she vilified for, again, what did she do that was so crappy to her friends? Like, okay, she showed up late because of work. All right, well, you knew that. It's not like, hey, I needed you. You promised me you'd be here for me on my wedding day, and now you can't, or whatever. Like, this isn't like, there's never anything Andy's done in the movie to deserve this sort of pushback that she gets. But again, it's all and furthermore, Nate's a cook. Like, cooks work long fucking hours. Like, they're working like 72 hours. Like, it's like you get there at 6 a.m. and you don't leave till 10 at night often. Like, like, cooks work ridiculous hours. Like, that's why they generally only date other cooks, because, like, they're working till 2, 3 a.m. most nights. And so, you can't have a real relationship, I think, in a lot of cases. So, like,
well, and it's like, you're telling me that you have this huge dream too. And like, he, at the end of the movie, gets the job in Boston, whatever. And I'm like, obviously they had broken up at that point and it's kind of a complicated thing, but I'm like, you're telling me you wouldn't have expected Andy to drop everything and move with you? That, like, your career isn't important in these ways, but hers isn't?
Right.
I think that friend, that even her girlfriend, it's like, she really is an arm of the patriarchy in that scene, that it's like, whoa. And you just saw someone kiss her on the cheek and then completely went off, and it's like, what are we doing? Like, let's have a conversation, you know? And of course it's a movie, so it's a little bit different, but for the sake of like our conversation and stuff, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I think that Nate is unfair in a lot of ways, because even though like maybe Andy should have started more conversations, or the communication piece, the one scene that we see where she says, "Can we talk about this?" He just says, "I'm going to bed." And it's like, well, how is she like, maybe you just want to talk tomorrow and that's fine, but also if you're not willing to have a conversation about it, she doesn't really know how to change her behavior that would be meeting you in the middle. Like, all she knows is that you don't like the new her and you want the old her. Well, she's changing and her life has changed. So y'all as a couple need to have a conversation about your new boundaries and dynamics. And she doesn't know what that looks like for you. And you're just going to go to bed and not talk to her about it. Like, I get it's your birthday. You get time to be upset. Like, that's fair. But at some point, like, it's not just a villain being a villain here.
Yeah, and I think it's subtle. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, I don't think there's anything unrealistic, by the way, in this portrayal. I mean, I think that this is real life. I mean, there's nothing there that's so outrageous to me, like in terms of how the friends behave, because I think that happens a lot. Because
totally,
well, it's all a system, right? Every interaction we have is part of a system, and when you change one thing in the system, the rest of the system doesn't like that. It seeks homeostasis. It tries to balance, you know, and all of a sudden now you've got this new thing. How does it fit in the system? And so I think it is very, you know, telling. But, you know, I think the other thing though is in terms of just for a movie that is, you know, movie led by women. I mean, you know, arguably the two main characters are women. The Devil Wears Prada woefully fails at depicting sisterhood, or at least what I would like to think is a sisterhood. None of these characters really support each other. Like, the female characters are all pitted against each other. It's women against, I mean, Emily versus Andy. You know, it's very judgmental. Like, you know, and the men, other than her friends, right? And even her friends, like, I you know, if you want my honest opinion, I feel like her girlfriend, the 14 years, was way more harsh to her than Nate was. Like, I don't actually think Nate really was that much of a dick, to be honest with you. Like, you know, he even said at one point, like, I'm not 5. Like, it's not about the fact that you missed my birthday. It's about, and I think he had some, you know, Andy could have communicated better. Like, it's very, you know, but at the same time, she's also stressed and she's growing, and maybe the relationship had run its course for that time being. You know, I mean, maybe the right decision at this point was to separate, because they are growing. Like, what's wrong with that? To say, hey,
and what
we're
he
growing
said
in different
was
directions. You know?
Yeah. What he said, I think, was actually just astute, that it's like, I just don't know if this works anymore. Like, actually. And it's like, of course there's going to be hurt feelings and all sorts of things about that. And that it's like, when you enter into a relationship, there is a certain expectation that, like, that person stays somewhat the same, but also I'm kind of like, well, shouldn't any good relationship be about helping each other grow? But that's another argument. But it's like, if you're growing in very different directions, it doesn't necessarily, like, even if you, like you said, merits of the way that they were growing or not, if you're growing in different directions, it doesn't mean that either of you is necessarily a bad person. It means the relationship just might not work anymore. And that's kind of what he said. He was like, yeah, I don't think this really works. But her girlfriend, who should be the one that has your back, was so like, who are you?
I don't even recognize you anymore.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting, though. The other guy friend in their little group, I don't even remember his name, he seemed to be the one that was the most supportive.
Yes, he
like,
was.
Even when she said, like, oh, I'm going to Paris, he was like, and you're going to get to meet all of these people and these designers. And it's like, I want more of this energy, right? It's like, when you tell someone something exciting, it's like, I think very much, even if your friends would be disappointed, it's like, oh, well, that sucks. Like, I'm gonna miss you, but I'm so excited for you, right? It's like you can hold both of those emotions, you know? It's very immature to be like, well, I'm just pissed.
Right. Yeah. No, the whole and I mean the whole and relationships, at the end of the day, Andy's growing. At best, Nate is
Yeah.
fertilizer in that relationship. Like he's not Andy. He's not the plant. Like he's the fertilizer. Or he's the structure, but at some point maybe you need a different fertilizer. Like this fertilizer has done all it can do. I'm not missing these nutrients. I actually need, whatever, more nitrogen instead of carbon or whatever. I don't, this isn't fertilizer talk, but I do, yeah, and I also want to point out at the end of the movie, right, the happy ending for Andy is she goes to work for it appears to be a male boss at a traditional newspaper. Sort of her
Yeah.
happy ever after is oh, I don't have to work with that crazy devilish boss anymore. Like again, suggesting that men are more reasonable and than a woman like Miranda. And again, just reinforcing this trope, this notion that somehow a woman in power, female authority is problematic. That it's not the natural order. So even in that, so I think the movie misses the mark in certain places from my perspective. I mean, I think if you want to use the Bechdel test, right? The Bechdel test, like, yes, I think it passes the Bechdel test. That said, I do feel like there is a bit of a warped feminism in terms of it's all in this traditional, it's very superficial fashion, glamour. That's the pinnacle of success. Like that's the woman's space, and so it's
Right.
And I don't love that. It to me, it's a very narrow view of what it means to be empowered as an individual. Forget women or men, but just it doesn't feel very empowering to me in some senses. I feel it might miss the mark a little bit there. But I think it tried. I think it,
Yeah.
I think maybe, nothing's perfect, right? And
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that to me
think,
that's what comes up.
Yeah. I think your note about sisterhood is just so well taken that it's like it is this kind of 90s feminism, right? That is like a woman has to be like a man to be a feminist, right? As opposed to like the power of your natural femininity and the innate competition that we see very much as opposed to like, hey, we're lifting each other up. When one of us succeeds, we all win. And I hadn't made that connection about her boss at the end being a man, but it's like that's very true. And the other thing is, it's like it's not even like some amazing newspaper. I mean, maybe it is, but it doesn't seem like some high prestigious thing, but of course she'll be able to work up through it. But I'm like, even though she's a little bit more stylish at the end in her jeans and leather jacket than she was in the beginning with the like Argyle skirt situation, I think also it going back to this false dichotomy, even though we do see the negativity and superficiality of like the fashion industry and this falsehood there, it's also this happy ending of, and she got out of all of that, as though there's no redeeming quality to anything that is like clothes make you feel good, right? Like we've all experienced putting on a new outfit and being like, I'm feeling good today. Or the difference, I will say, you feel different when you put on a pair of heels. And it's like there is something to the psychology of that. And I think I would have just liked to see more nuance in this happy ending that is like, no, it's amazing that she's going to work for a newspaper. But even he said this thing about the union, the janitors union, maybe it was, is exactly what we do here. And I'm like, so in this whole growth, she's actually ending up right where she was in the beginning. Like, I think it would have been a much more satisfying ending because that was the paper that she wrote in college.
Right.
And so I'm like, you're going back to doing exactly what you did in college before this very formative and transformative experience. Like, I think it could have been cool. What if she did investigative journalism about the fashion industry, or even about like workplace culture, or is something that is like, I've changed my perspective on these things and it's not all evil and demonized. And I also can wear nicer clothes and feel pretty, and like, or like, even if she had kept her bangs, right? Like, she loses her bangs at the end too, and I'm like, the bangs actually look good on you. You should keep the bangs. Like I would have liked to see more of like there's still like a red lipstick, or like some sort of sequin that is left from this experience, as opposed to like
complete reset.
Yeah,
like episodic.
yeah.
We're back at the beginning. All this stuff happened, but we're no lessons really learned. Just
yes. And I think they try and do it a little bit, but I agree with you just in that slight missing the mark there, and that slight reinforcing of tropes. I agree with your point there for sure.
Yeah.